Mike Bruner, the first swimmer, is the gold medalist in the 200 fly, and he's also the world record holder at 200-meter butterfly. He uses conventional start. Falls to the water, pushes himself at the water, looks up so he stalls, and enters through a spot. Takes one kick. On the second kick, you can see him start his arms out, back to the side, and they will explode up and out of water. Another view of the start, through a spot. It is not a flopping entry, not the whole body coming in at one time, but rather an entry through a spot. The arch of the back, once you enter the water, will determine how deep you go and the duration underwater. Here we have the start, first kick, second kick, he starts his arms, and we have the total stroke. One down, one up. It's a proper way to breathe, especially when training. You can see it's a dive into the water, and it's really an underwater stroke. Approximately 90% of the time you're underwater. Here's the first fundamental. Head beats the arms into the water. At the same time the hands go in, you drive the hips up. Underwater, you can see the chin to the chest as the hips are driven up, and the head beat the arms in the water. Second fundamental is an explosion of the arms up and out through the back end. Underwater, you can see the same shot. Turns his thumbs down, little fingers up, and as he explodes up, he accelerates through the back end, explodes out of the water. On the total stroke, you can see the head beat the arms in and the explosion out the back end. The two true fundamentals of butterfly. On the turn, he locked at the shoulders, locked at the elbow and pivoted from the shoulders. You can see that it is an underwater stroke. He has a good foot underneath the water. He feels water, pulls out to the side, back through, and then explodes out the back end. On the turn, you can see both the hands and feet off the wall. He let momentum take him through the turn. Here we have stop action. This is the total stroke. You can see the explosion out the back end, the head down just before the arms go into the water. Here we have the chin to the chest. Here comes the arms in. He's dove down in the water, starts to look forward as he pulls himself forward, gets through the power phase, and then he really starts to accelerate and explode up and out. And just as they go down, chin to the chest, hips up as the hands enter the water, dive back into the water. Have a total view and see how much of the stroke is really an underwater stroke. Approximately 90% of the swim is spent underwater. It's very obvious on these underwater shots. Good shot of his turn there, locked at the elbow. Here we have it in slow stop action. You see him lock at the elbow as his hands hit. He pivots from the shoulder, lets the momentum take him through, brings the knees to his chest, both hands and feet off the wall, and he starts to extend his legs before they touch so that he does not squat and push. Kicks one kick. On the second kick, he will start his arms. We can see an hourglass pull. What he does is he feels for water. He has his hands enter. He feels water. He tries to find water that is not moving. So it's really not his hand moving through the water, but really the body coming by the hands as they find a nice still spot in the water. Good shot of his turn. Once again, the pivot from the shoulders and letting the momentum take him through the wall and the turn. Good shot of the same turn underwater. One kick, second kick, he starts his arm stroke. Notice that he lets the momentum take him through rather than him pulling himself through the turn. Very important. Here we have Steve Gregg, the silver medalist in the 200-meter butterfly at Montreal. Swims for Don Easterling at North Carolina State. On the start, he tries to go in through a spot. He's a little flat with his legs. That's something that he has to work on. One kick, second kick, he starts the stroke. Once again on the start through a bubble entry, one kick starts the stroke, and he's pulling a little straight-armed here. I'd like to see his arms come a little inside and a little more hourglass. He's pulling just a little too straight, and he's working on this very hard at the present time. You have a grab start, another view of the start. That was a little better. He got in through a spot that time. You can see how he flows through the water, and it is an underwater stroke. We get to underwater, you'll notice, it doesn't look like he's underwater when you stand above, but you can see it happen underwater. On the dolly shots, you can see that as the head beat the arms in, you can see the tremendous rise of the hips. You can see the second fundamental as he explodes through the middle. Pivots from the shoulders, locks the elbows, both hands and feet off the wall at the same time, drops underwater as he starts to push. He does not squat and push, but extends the legs before they're there. Here's the dolly shot again. We're moving with him. We can see the head beat the arms in the water, and we can see the explosion through the back end, and we can see the hips come up. This is the fundamentals of the fly, the dive in the water and the explosion in the back end. That's why it's called butterfly and not butter lift. We don't lift the arms out, we explode them out of the water. Underwater, we can see the same things. We can see the chin to the chest, beating the arms into the water. We can see the hips rise. We can see an explosion out the back end. One kick, second kick, he started his arms. Underwater, same thing. We can see a natural flow through the water. Once again, his arms aren't moving, but his body is moving through the water. The body is moving. The hands are finding still water or water that is not moving. And they're feeling for that. The minute they get a column moving, they move it to a different spot. So they're always pulling against resistance. Here we have Joe Bottom. He was a silver medalist in the 100-meter fly at Montreal. He's a sprint flyer, and his arms will be a little straighter than the other two people, but basically the same fundamentals. We see the chin to the chest, and the head beats the arms into the water. He's doing starts right now. We can see the coming in through a spot. He has a very good dive. We can see the head beat the arms in the water as he drives his hips up, and we can see a definite acceleration from front to back end and an explosion out the back end of the stroke. Here we have slow motion. We can still see that he is driving the hands. They're quicker in the back end than they are in the front. He's accelerated from front to back end, and he explodes out of the water. One down, one up on the breathing pattern. You see the head down, hips up, as he just before the arms go into the water. So he sets up body position. He still dives underneath the water. It's an underwater stroke. See, he pulls a little straighter, but once again his body moves, not his arms. They're finding still water. Definite acceleration and a definite power phase and an explosion out the back end. Good shots. Thumb down, little finger up at the back end. Once again on the turn, locks at the shoulders, pivot, locks at the elbows, pivots from the shoulders. Both hands and feet were off as he let the momentum of swimming take him through the turn, not hold himself through the turn. This is most important. You never hang on a wall. You always explode. You'll let your momentum take you through a wall. Good shot of the explosion out the back end, above water, now underwater. Thumbs down, little fingers up. This man has the fundamentals of the stroke. Final swimmer is Greg Jagenberg. He swims for Frank Keefe at Foxcatcher Swim Club. Has a very good start through a bubble entry. One kick, second kick, he will start his arms. The first kick, second kick, he started his arms. Has a much better pull at the beginning of a race than he does at the back end of a race. Tends to drop his elbows as he gets tired. You see he has a good press there, good explosion out the back end, chin to the chest, tremendous hip action on that first kick. He gets his hips way up out of water, which makes him a world-class butterfly. Here you can see how high his hips come up out of water. You can see he dives into the water, a definite dive into the water, and a definite explosion out the back end. He has the fundamentals. He has the head beats the arms into the water, and he drives his hip at that time, and a definite explosion out the back end. These are the two fundamentals of butterfly. He's breathing one down, one up. We have stop action on his turn. He hits, locks the elbows, pivots from the shoulders, takes one arm away, both hands and feet off the wall, starts to extend his legs before they hit the wall so that he gets an explosion off the wall rather than a squat and push off the wall. We can see that he definitely is getting underwater and he's definitely diving into the water. That is a fundamental of fly. This man has a tremendous kick, probably the best kicker in the world. I've seen him kick 54-8 100-yard butterfly. And so he is a leg-based butterfly, and he has to work very hard on his legs, and his legs decide how fast his arms are going to move and basically how long he's going to be able to maintain technique. His kick is so good that we decided to show you just how deep it was. You can see it's a violent motion down, and the hips have to move. Here underwater, you can see how deep the kick actually goes. It's a good 12 to 18 inches underneath his body.